Satoru Gojo is a unique mentor compared to his battle manga predecessors because of his power and his relevance in the plot. Let's go back to the 80s. In Dragon Ball, Goku had Roshi as his mentor. He taught him life lessons and new techniques, but by the end of the arc, Goku nearly fought him to a draw in the finals. By the time the next tournament rolled around, Goku was fighting Tien in the finals because Roshi was surpassed. When we get to DBZ, he's completely irrelevant to the plot. Jojo had mentors too. Jonathan's mentor was Zeppeli. They fought together for a short time as equals before the mentor died and passed his powers down to his student. Joseph's mentor was Lisa. She trained him, but in the plot, she fought maybe one battle before being surpassed by the student. The trend in the 80s is that the mentor teaches the hero life lessons and helps them hone their abilities, but in the plot, they don't fight that much and are quickly surpassed. In the 90s, we have Yusuke and Genkai. She teaches her student physically and mentally in both tournaments and even fights in a couple battles in the Dark Tournament. But before the finals, she passes down her power to Yusuke, and the student surpasses the teacher. She's never that relevant in the plot again. In Kenshin, the hero's mentor shows up for one arc. He teaches his pupil mentally and physically. The mentor fights a battle, but the hero takes on the main villain of the arc, implying that he surpassed him. Then we transition to the 2000s. In Naruto, the hero had his first mentor as Kakashi. He trained Team 7 physically and mentally, but was only really plot relevant in one arc of Part 1. In Part 2, he became a little more relevant and got more fights, but he was cleanly surpassed by the Pain arc. His second mentor was Jiraiya. He's even less relevant to the plot, only being a major player in 2 arcs total before being surpassed. Like Kakashi, he trains Naruto mentally and physically. In Bleach, Ichigo and Kisuke are the student-mentor pair. The mentor teaches the student mentally and physically, but his relevance in the plot is different. He may not appear a lot or fight a lot, but he does a lot of scheming to help the heroes in nearly every arc. It's a slight difference from the trend. He's also surpassed by a student later in the story, past the halfway point. Then, the 2010s. MHA brings the first major difference that JJK seems to take from. Deku and All Might are the duo, but All Might is not like other mentors. He's arguably the second main character early in the story. He's the strongest hero in the story. He still fights in major arcs involving villains. He was the cavalry, the trump card, until he lost his powers at the end of the first saga. If you look back, usually the hero is the number one option. Goku, Jonathan, and Joseph all quickly surpassed their mentors. Yusuke was the number one option even in the Dark Tournament, despite not fully surpassing Genkai. Kenshin was the first pick all throughout his story. That started to change a little with Naruto because Kakashi, Hiruzen, and Jiraiya were all the number one options in the first 3 arcs, but by Part 2, Naruto became the main guy. In Bleach, Ichigo was always the main guy because Kisuke stayed in the shadows despite being stronger. But now in MHA, All Might, the mentor, is always the number one guy for the heroes until he loses his powers. He's the Goku that shows up late and saves the day. Naruto had his Goku moment against Kakuzu and Pain. Ichigo had his Goku moment against Aizen and Yuha. All Might has many Goku moments, which no other mentor I've mentioned truly had before, especially when the hero was already on the battlefield. Furthermore, Deku only surpassed All Might's peak towards the end of the story, when he started mastering multiple quirks. Black Clover went back to business as usual. With Asta and Yami, Yami isn't consistently in the plot, and he teaches Asta mentally and physically. But like All Might, Yami is clearly one of the strongest characters in the story, and it takes some time for Asta to surpass him. He isn't the number one like All Might, but he's strong and displays his power multiple times. Then we get to Jujutsu Kaisen, which elevated what All Might started. With Yuji and Gojo, the mentor gets so much spotlight that you might think he's the main character. Gojo is arguably the 4th, 3rd, or 2nd main character depending on the arc. Like All Might, he appears a lot. Like All Might, he's the strongest hero in the story, but the gap is even wider than All Might and his peers. Gojo is 1 in a million. Yuji becomes very powerful at the end, but I don't even think he surpassed Gojo. That's how strong he was. He became the number one option because Gojo died. Unlike Deku, he didn't surpass Gojo at his peak. He's consistently the hero's number one fighter in every arc he fights in. Gojo is the cavalry and has a Goku moment. All mentors train their hero physically and mentally. In battle manga, the emphasis seems to lean towards mentally, with life lessons that improve their characters rather than multiple specific techniques. Back in the 80s and 90s, the mentors were quickly surpassed and didn't fight or participate in the plot that much. Once the hero surpassed them, the hero became the strongest good guy. In the 2000s, it was mostly the same, except now it took longer for the heroes to surpass their mentor, allowing the mentor to have more plot relevance. All Might in the 2010s was a big shift because it introduced a mentor who was the strongest overall, was top 3 in plot relevance, fought a lot, and was not easily surpassed. Gojo is the most unique mentor because he did the same thing but for a longer period of time and at a higher intensity. The gap in power between him and his rivals or students was immeasurable, except against Sukuna. Everyone kept singing his praises. He had an arc where he was the main character. In the final arc, He goes 1v1 against the strongest antagonists, and they're evenly matched. He has the most technical skill with the magic system and comes first in almost every stat. He has the most fight highlights out of any mentor and is never surpassed by his students. His power and plot relevance as a mentor was off the charts. In conclusion, Gojo is the most unique mentor in battle manga so far.